Hello, everyone. Yes, we are live again. So, guys, today we have another wonderful topic to look into. Like we all know, Mr. Peter Obi was in court yesterday. Sorry, Mr. Peter Obi was in court today. And today, the adoption took place. The addresses were adopted. We'll be looking forward to hearing the dates for the judgment. Like we all know, they are going to communicate to the Nigerian people. They will be telling us when the judgment is going to take place. So at the moment, I'm going to be bringing in Dr. Etel for him to give us a breakdown of what happened today in court, because a whole lot of drama took place today. And each party or each council, like the council to the first respondent, the second respondent, the petitioners, they were given like 20 minutes to talk. And so many things transpired within this short period. So I'm going to be bringing in Dr. Etel to analyze and tell us exactly what happened to our audience, explain it for them to understand what transpired today at the court. Dr. Etel, over to you.
Yeah, good evening, viewers, and I hope you're enjoying yourself. I wanted to say the president spoke yesterday, making a whole lot of lofty promises, but that is not the issue for today. I hope we'll get back on that later. But today in court was the crescendo of the whole matter. After today, we're not going to hear anything again until the hammer drops. The next news we are getting from the court is the day the judgment will be dropped. And on that day, the petitioners and the respondent will all be in court to hear. I want us to pray and see how it goes through. However, the respondents had time to come to make their final presentation, but I need to let us know that it was just for I could say it was a moment for them to still expose themselves, how vulnerable they are in this whole situation. That's the way I see it. It was 20 minutes given to the respondents and 20 minutes given to petitioners to be able to make their closing speeches, as it were. The official and formal thing is that those addresses they wrote was formally adopted today, meaning they used their mouth to say, this thing we wrote, it is us that wrote it. We have submitted it to the court. We expect the court to read it now and tie it to all the evidence we have presented and now draw their conclusion. So Labour Party and Peter Obi made their own joint presentation. APC, INEC, and Bola Tinubu made their own presentation, as the case may be. And there were a few things that came up from that place that I would like to highlight, which is going to be very, very interesting. Number one is that the counsel to APC and or Bola Tinubu, they are the same, tends to submit to the fact that their candidate actually had double nomination. But by their statement, they said someone who has citizenship by birth cannot be disqualified. That's the statement they made in court today. Someone who has citizenship by birth cannot be disqualified. And therefore, the court should disregard the Guinean passport. If I am the person who is reading meaning into this, I would say that they have accepted that their president has dual citizenship, and however, that he has Nigerian citizenship by birth. But I think they missed the point here. The point is not whether he's disqualified by having dual citizenship. The point here is that in the form where he's supposed to say, yes, I have dual citizenship, howbeit it did not disqualify me. He ticked no, I didn't have dual citizenship. So I think they missed it. Nigerians, are you listening to me now? The subject here is not whether he has dual citizenship, but whether he ticked it in the form acknowledging that he had dual citizenship. Some of us who live outside the country may have dual citizenship. Okay? We still have a right in Nigeria and in the place where we are resident. If there is a form the government asks me to fill, and in that form they ask me, do you have citizenship of any other country? I should be able to say yes or no. If I say yes, and I do not have citizenship of any other country, I have lied. If I say no, and I have citizenship of any other country, I have also lied. So the subject here is not whether he has that citizenship, but whether he lied in the form by ticking no, where he's supposed to tick yes. Let's bear it in mind. Another thing they pointed is when they said that just give me that FCT should be treated as a state. That FCT should be treated as a state. They went back to the whole old argument again, saying that FCT should be, they have a very short time to just make this statement, that FCT should be treated as a state. Well, let's keep that one. But they come again on the issue of the forfeiture. This is another interesting thing. They use their mouth to say in this final argument, which is referring to section 137, subsection 1E of the Constitution, that a crime that has lasted for 10 years has expired. The penalty on it has expired. Which means they have now admitted, in fact, both in the case of PDP and in the case of APC, now of Labour Party, they admitted that a crime existed here. You see how they are unconsciously falling back to the same thing they were running away from. They were running away from, there was nowhere a fine was mentioned. There was nowhere a court sat. Now they are saying it is 10 years. In fact, in the case of PDP, it cost more like a shouting match, because in the case of PDP, this 10 years issue came up, and they were more or less trying to say that Constitution has made a provision for forgiveness. And senior advocate Uche was like, somebody has to be punished for their sin. And Justice Samani was like, even the Bible said that sin can be forgiven, and that the Constitution has defined the time when certain offenses. Now, people are saying, now, to be honest, the lawyers and judges, they're very careful when they talk. Forget what APC lawyers are talking with double mouth here. When lawyers and judges talk, they are certain. If you listen to Justice Samani, he did not say that all crimes, he says when certain crimes. So it is left for the judges to now determine whether this crime is included in those ones that can be forgiven at a certain time as stipulated by the Constitution. This is a little thing, a little in between, because I've heard a whole lot of people saying, it's like Justice Samani is giving an idea that they're going to let this guy off the hook by that statement. Well, it's a probability. They may decide to interpret it in that way. But I know that section 137 of our Constitution, subsection 1D, included crimes like narcotics, money laundering, as the one that does not have term limit of its expiration, and came to section 137, subsection 1E, to explain that the issues of having problem with Code of Conduct Tribunal in Nigeria, something of that nature, will last for 10 years. And what I don't know is how these judges will decide whether they will carry this one and move it as part of what section 137 subsection 1E gives a clean bill of health after 10 years, or whether they will leave it in section 137 subsection 1D. And it is important for us to know that section 137 subsection 1 has 10 items that can disqualify you. If every crime you committed will expire in 10 years, there wouldn't have been any need to have section 137 subsection 1D and then section 137 subsection 1E. They would have lumped all of them together and say, provided all these things have not exceeded 10 years. That's the way I am reading. Okay? All right. So that's what has to do with the forfeiture and the term and the time of expiration. Then they said again, they jumped again and say, if, that is APC and Bola Tinubu, second and third and fourth respondent, okay? Second and third respondent, please, because the INEC is the first respondent. Now, they said here that if there will be a rerun, it is with them and PDP. So now listen, you know, when you have a very serious case, there are areas you don't even near. These people know that they have a very weak argument, and that is why they're even contemplating a rerun. And as we have said here last time, they are afraid that if this rerun occurs, they may face Labour Party. Because if they are ready for a run, they could have just said, well, court, if you find need for there to be a rerun, we are ready. Let's meet in the field and we'll still prove to anybody in Nigeria that we are the party to beat. Why are they selecting the political party they want to face in the field? Why? I am just reading and thinking, okay? Now, INEC was saying that there was no evidence of manipulation in their process, that the 18,088 blood results should be discarded because that they still had the physical copy that they used to do collation, and that the collation was carried out impeccably. They used the word impeccably. I'm repeating it. You know what it means, impeccably? Let me explain what impeccably means from our layman's understanding. You know that time when, I don't know if you attended the secondary school where they wear white uniform, white as a boy, white shirt and white shorts. The impeccable white is the one you wore the very first day you registered in school as a JSS1 student. Because by the time you are finishing your first term, that white is no longer impeccable. So they are trying to say INEC they scored actually, eventually APC came to score INEC 90% in their service delivery. These people are, they are joking. Now, yesterday, Yaga Africa released their report. And in that report, they said INEC disappointed Nigeria. ECOWAS released their own, which they themselves tendered in court as evidence and read from that report during cross-examination and disowned ECOWAS. Of course, let us not go to the EU because EU was so damning that they have to mobilize people to go and riot in their favor. And this is what both APC and INEC had the mouth to say is impeccable, and success rate, efficiency rate is 90%. Wow. Okay. Now, let me now, we finished about that. Let's now come down to when it came to the time of Labour Party to give their own final speech. You know, oh my goodness. If you listen to Christians or even to Muslims or to lawyers or law enforcement officers, one thing all these people do in order to validate what they're trying to say is they always make reference to a section of the law or a section of the Quran or a section of the Bible that back their claims. When Levi Uzoku opened his mouth, the first sentence that dropped from his mouth was, according to Supreme Court judgment in the case of Oyetola versus INEC. He was trying to talk about IREV. He referred them to Supreme Court judgment, where the Supreme Court themselves said, this, and that. I am an academic scholar. Even when I read papers, I read journals, I am privileged that I review journals for top journals in the world in my area. There is a statement that someone will make. The first thing you're looking is the citations. Who is this person citing? What is the reference list? Do you understand? When Labour Party lawyers talk, you will see brain, you will see scholars, you will see what is called erudite lawyers talking. He referred them, and then he said, I quote Levy again. It's, okay, not quoting him. Let me just speak. I can't quote him verbatim. He referred to the same 18,088 results and said, these results that were blurred and blank, some of them are even on A4, blank A4, were certified by INEC themselves, given to us. And then he linked it with where APC was saying that it may have been toner or ink when they were printing the, because as a certified true copy, you have to photocopy it. When they are printing it, that was when toner. So he was now asking the question, your toner finished. INEC, remember that Labour Party paid millions to them to produce it. So you couldn't use the millions to buy toner. Even if you want a printing press, the money could buy you a printing press. And then you printed the first one, blood. You printed the second one, blank. The third one, blood. Up to 18,088. You printed all of them. Excuse me. This is a ream of printing paper. As you see it like this, one of these is 500. GSM 80 GSM, 500 sheets. Permits me for us to do 18,088 divided by 500. It will take this thing 176 packets to print 18,088 this thing. And you lavished this 176. And all of them were blank. And all of them were blood. And you know that that machine that is printing it, the toner is finished. The ink is no longer there. And you stamped it. And you come to the open court to tell the justices of the appeal court that you have the clean original copy, but that your toner is bad. That is why what you printed is blood. It is only in Nigeria that people can be this bold to look the law in the face and trash it this way. It's only in Nigeria. But I like the way Levy cornered it, because this thing I'm saying is the explanation of what Levy said. Levy didn't come there with a ream of paper, but you can see I'm giving it flesh because he had just limited time to talk. He had limited time to talk. And he reminded them that the law said that a certified true copy is the exact copy of the original. That if this is what INEC gave and stamped, it means that that is the exact copy of what they have. period. Whatever the judges want to accept is left for them. Levy ended by saying there is no basis. They are arguing nothing. They do not have any results upon which they base to declare what they declared. If they had it, they would have produced it. Because let's put it this way. Is it in the best interest of INEC to put themselves in this compromising way of giving fictitious results? Do you think if INEC had that result, they would not be happy on day one to say, my Lord, relax. Nigerians trusted us. They gave us $1 billion. We did a good job. Without fear or favor, here is it. This is the result we had. Yes, my Lord, IRF had problem. We couldn't upload, but this is the result. Look at it. Compare it. This is the top copy. We did a good job. I am now looking at you as an INEC, and I can put it to you that you do not have results. That was exactly what Levy said in his own listing. Do you understand what I'm saying? That was exactly what Levy said. That was how he closed his case. He said in the issue of FCT that he doesn't want to bother wasting time, that the Constitution has made that one clear. That they were not even able to explain the difference between conjunctive and disjunctive. He was at the point when he was saying that the bell rang and they say your time is finished. So that was how it happened today. It was a beautiful time. Now, all these things were in their argument, as we all know, but they had another opportunity and they still sold it by coming to compromise themselves much more when they talk the issue of rerun. So they are preparing for rerun. No wonder they are hiring the likes of Wike, the likes of all those election riggers like Wike, like El Rufai, making them ministers so that they can now use our money and dump to them as minister of this, and they will use it to rig election again. But IRF will keep on messing them up because they never anticipated it like that. If it were in those era when IRF was not there, this case would have been over. This case would have gone the way of the previous elections. But IRF is a bone in their throat. And I just pray that these judges will do justice to justice, as I keep saying all the time. So that is the summary of the happening today in the election petitions court today, presidential election petitions court. You know.
Doc, for me, I think they can't really repeat what transpired during the last election again. As in, even if they want to rig the election, because
I don't think so.
I don't think they can ever achieve what they tried achieving last time, because Nigerians are now wiser. Everybody's eye is open, you know. Experience is always the best teacher. So we've passed through that process. They can't just come up today again or tomorrow and say they are deceiving Nigerians. I don't think that will happen. So it was really shocking to hear that INEC is telling Nigerians that they didn't have, is it ink or what, or paper that made them
No, it was the APC that said that it may just be that they ran out of ink or toner. They used the word toner or ink. But INEC did not come to say that. If INEC themselves did not come to say that they actually ran out of ink or toner, INEC came to say that they had the result with which they used to collate. But that is what you are asked to produce. Give us the certified true copy, and you give certified true copy of what is on the IRF, because they don't have any other thing except what they uploaded on the IRF. They don't.
So now they are telling the Labour Party, or they are telling the presiding judge, that the copies they gave to the Labour Party is different from what is in their possession now, right?
That is what they are implying. Remember, all this thing is going back to the hearing period. That deputy director that said, oh, we did manual collation with physical results. That was That was why he was given one result to read, and he said it is blood, he can't read it.
Yes, I can remember.
Yes.
And luckily, all the documents that the Labour Party is having, they are all certified true copies. So
Yes, all the
INEC
documents
gave them to the Labour Party. And
yes.
yeah, I think that's just the end
Yes.
for them.
Yes. Yes. Remember that thing they say, he who asserts must prove. The burden of proof shifted to INEC. If you assert that you conducted a credible election, prove it. Show us the result. All Labour Party need to do is to allege, or he who alleged, is to allege that it was not substantially compliant. And how do you prove it? They can only prove it by legally and officially by government standard going to INEC, who is a government body, and say, give us the result. If INEC gives them the result and they still use the result to say it was not substantially compliant, the court will throw them out. But if INEC refuses to give them the result, then they are hiding evidence, which is exculpatory in nature, meaning they are hiding evidence that will help Labour Party make their case. But INEC did not say they didn't give them. They gave them. But what they gave them was blank.
No wonder they were delaying to provide this result sheet to the Labour Party. We know what Labour Party went through when they were trying to get all these documents. For me, I'm now beginning to think that they were trying to delay so as to see if there are some things they could corner. But honestly, the IREF was just like, the headmaster, they're controlling whatever and not allowing them to cross the boundary.
I think, okay, let me put it this way. This is my own personal theory. I think the courts might just want to, baptize APC candidates and make him whole by finding some technicalities to clear some of this thing hanging around his neck. However, release him back to the field to go and prove that he can end the vote of Nigerians. These are just one of the probable conspiracy theories running through my head. Because it is better for one to lose election than to go home as disqualified because you know what I mean. Okay, so I don't know. I'm just saying it that indeed, if I am the judges, I'll say, how do I help this person? How can I, even if they're going to beat my head tomorrow, how can I just help him by finding one technicality? But the thing is that it's overwhelming. Excuse me, let me read this. He said, was there any speech given by the judges to free Tinubu in today's adoption? Saw that from net. There was no speech. I just said it here. There was a conversation between Sam Uche, who is the PDP lead counsel, who was saying that a person who commits a crime should pay for it. And then APC was saying that that the Constitution made provision for when someone's sin can be thrown away. So it was this argument. Then Samani just chipped in and was like, hey, Sam Uche, Senator Uche, you are a Christian. Even the Bible said that we should forgive sinners, and that the Bible and that the Constitution has stipulated when certain offenses, timeline for certain offenses. And I said, he did not say timeline for all offenses. He did not say timeline for all offenses. And you do know that there are different ways somebody's offense or sin can be claimed. If there is a presidential pardon, is it presidential pardon or what? That's the way they call it. Remember, Obasanjo was in prison for that phantom coup under Abacha's time. When he was brought, he could be released, but he could still be called an ex-convict. So he was given a pardon. But later on, Oladipo Dia, the one who just passed on, were all released, but he was not given that pardon. So that still made it impossible for him to contest election unless, I think they were asking Jonathan to pardon him that time. Because when the president gives you that pardon, it's like your sin is forgiven, is washed away. So when Justice Amani said so, he's still speaking within the law. There are categories of forgiveness of sin over people's crimes, either by presidential pardon or 10 years statute bar, depending on the kind. I like to be objective when I am analyzing something. But if we think that just because he made that statement, he's planning to free this man, well, it's up to them. If they want to keep doing it that way, whatever precedent they set will become what we live with. Okay?
So, Doc, I want to ask a question, although it's a bit difficult. What's your take from, will I say, the body language of the presiding judge?
I see him as a guy who just he says his mind. He's not siding anybody, to be honest. I mean, when in the case of PDP, they were arguing. The PDP lead counsel was saying, they're asking him, you have another address to submit, that it is a final address, not final addresses. And he was arguing that these people submitted their own replies at different times and they raised different issues that he has to reply them individually. If they had submitted it the same time, he would have written one final address because they said he had 140 pages, another 40 pages, and another 120 pages. After the whole argument, the judge vehemently said, I'm not going to accept this. And the lawyer challenged him. It was an argument back and forth. And later on, he accepted it. And then he made a statement that is important. He made a statement that says that this case is a very sensitive case. And that these young ones, before you know it now, they have their headlines. You know these young ones, which means these things we are doing here, it's working.
Honestly.
See, we are doing here, it is working. I mean,
it's remote controlling them.
Think about it. There are 1,001 platforms that are speaking, social media platform, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, that are talking about this. Well over 1 million people say something every day, telling judiciary we are watching. As we are talking now, there is a possibility that Justice Amani is looking at me, listening to me. There is a possibility that his daughter or granddaughter in US or in UK or in Germany is even a subscriber to this channel. And that person is saying, Daddy or Grandpa, please, this is people. These are people's feelings. They are hearing. And they also know that whatever they finally give to us, they will live with it. They will live with it. So not even God will forgive Mahmoud Mohammed and Tinubu for the atrocities they have committed against Nigerian people, for their cry for justice. All eyes on judiciary. Okay. Okay, let me say this, please. This is important. I have two things to say because we don't have time. Number one is that this is summary. And this summary is not please, I am making this clear. I'm not plagiarizing. It's one of my senior friend. He's a senior lawyer and he's based in the US. Okay. He wrote this, he sent me this today. It's on his Facebook. No, he sent it to me, but it's also on his Facebook. He says, on the whole, the trend of facts and the arguments on the core issues appear fairly straightforward at this point. However, the public must keep in mind that legal analysis involves the court determining a couple of factors, including one, what has been the interpretation given by prior courts on similar issues, known as precedents. Number two, what was the intention of the drafters of the law, known as intent? What is the mischief intended to be cured, and how can that be achieved now, known as the cure? Number four, did counsel abide by rules of court, law, and evidence in presenting their cases, known as procedure? And finally, were the violations so significant as to warrant the overturning of an election, known as substantiality. Now, these are the things the judges will look at when they are deciding. And need I tell you, the person who wrote this is not just this guy was today marked the 27 years, no, I think yesterday marked the 27 years he was released in prison because Abacha threw him in the prison during the case of Abiola's era. So he's a human rights activist and he's a lawyer. So the judges will look at this case from number one, precedents. And that is why these people are afraid of precedents. Whenever Labour Party want to refer them to the case of Oyetola versus INEC, they are shaking. You know why they are shaking? Because that is the only case that has been determined up to the Supreme Court using the Electoral Act 2022. And Labour Party happened to be feasting on all the things that the Supreme Court said there, because that is a precedent that is based on Electoral Act 2022. I have that judgment. If anybody wants to read the case of Oyetola versus Adeleke and others, please, you can chat me. I'll send it to you. When you read it and you read Labour Party's reply, you know why they are afraid. Number two is on the subject of intent. What do you think the law, those who wrote the law, had in their mind when they said, if you have been involved in a certain kind of crime, you shouldn't be president? In fact, in this guy's article, he pointed out the case of James Ibori. James Ibori was in prison in the UK and lied that he was not that person and became a governor. According to him, when he became a governor, what did he do? The character came out again. He became supercharged. He actually shook the treasury of Delta State in a way and manner that nobody has ever seen. And that is what the intention of the law is, to stop such people from ascending high office. That's the intention. Thirdly, the mischief. What is the mischief intended to be cured? Meaning, what is the perennial problem that has been existing that a new electoral act wants to cure? That takes us to INEC's own statement in their manual. INEC used their mouth to say, before now, after election, we begin to encounter snatching of ballots, mutilation of results, rewriting of results. In order to stop this, we have created an IREV, whereby from the polling unit, straight, it goes there. And when you now come to the collation center, even if the result had been rewritten, the collation officer shall, meaning must, first of all, check what is on the IREV before accepting that document that is being imposed on him. That is the mischief that the Electoral Act 2022 intended to cure. And that is exactly what INEC said, no, we must not allow it to happen. We have to go back to Electoral Act 2010. That's what they did. And procedure, of course, you can see that it's on the procedure that all of them are saying objection, non-objection, objection. Well, it's left to them. They know their rule, their procedure. And on substantiality, well, you can see that Labour Party established core substantiality. 18,088 polling units is about 2.5 million. How substantial is it? It is substantial in that the result being contested here is greater than the difference between the declared winner and the first runner-up. So, what shall we say? The title of this guy's article is Why Tinubu Cannot Win. It is a long read, but I just cropped up this place. And the final thing I want to say now is say, please, I want to know if NYC issued any disclaimer based on Mr. President. NYC did not issue any disclaimer. It's very simple. The name that is the NYC certificate he submitted to INEC wrote is the first and last name with another name. So if that is not his name, did he attach another document showing a change of name? Simple. And how is it possible that the name that he used to graduate is not the name he used to do youth service? And it's not the name that he's using to contest for presidency. You don't even need NYC to write a disclaimer on that one. It goes back to the case of precedent again. It goes back to the Supreme Court case of Bayelsa State Governor PDP versus APC, where there is the names were from this to that, from that to that. And Supreme Court was like, we don't understand. Your names keep changing. Who are you? So that is it. Somebody is saying, also, will a judge give his ruling in any case based on its personal extraction from the case or witness, or based on rule of law according to the Constitution? There are 4 documents I've always mentioned here that they're going to base. They will use it as a marking scheme. The Constitution, the Electoral Act, the INEC guidelines and regulations, and INEC's manual on election. These 4 documents are the marking schemes the judge will rely on. The other thing is the Evidence Act, which every one of them have to be able to substantiate the evidence that we are presented. Where is it presented? Where is it credible? If you say that someone forged a document, how did you prove it? Based on the Evidence Act. And if you have proved it well based on the Evidence Act, how did it tie to the Electoral Act? These are the documents they're going to be using to go through this. And that's why they didn't give the dates that they will give judgment. They said they will tell them, because they need to go take time to read. Remember, they have up to from now till around November or thereabout. March, April, May, June, July, August, September. From now up to September to give their judgment. So it could be they could drop their judgment 30th of September. They stay within time. So they have 60 days to go do their own research, reading, combining. Now, this is the way the judgment is going to come. If they are 5-man panel there, all 5 of them will write their own individual independent judgment on their own. They will all write their own individual and independent judgment. After they finish writing, they will pass it across each other. Each one of them will have the privilege of reading the other person's judgment. They have the right to change theirs. They have the right to retain it. You remember in the case of Yaradua versus Buhari, that election could have been annulled, but one judge changed his own. One Supreme Court judge changed his own. I didn't mention something that Tinubu's lawyer said, that, okay, even though it was in the PDP's case, when they were arguing that no presidential election has ever been annulled. So PDP's lawyer was like, the precedent should start from now. Let us set the precedent now. They have forgotten that we have never had something like IREV in our presidential election. And I keep saying it here, that nothing has changed from 1963 in our electoral process up until 2022 Electoral Act. 2022 Electoral Act changed the dynamics. And if it had changed the dynamics, it's like a certain sickness that has been eaten deep into a system, like an epidemic. When you eventually find the antivirus, it will manifest, isn't it? IREV is the only thing so far that can checkmate this. And that is why I believe that the precedent will be set from now going forward. from now going forward. So when they're done writing their judgment, they'll pass it across. If all of them agrees on the same issues, it becomes what is called unanimous judgment. It means that the judgment is unanimous. Nobody dissented. If 3 of them agree, whatever 3 agrees on becomes the majority judgment, whether it is in favor or against. What the majority of the judges agrees on becomes the majority judgment. And that is what they will deliver. Whosoever it favors will go home rejoicing. Whosoever it did not favor will go home crying. Then, if the other 2 people who did not agree will gather together too and write, one of them will be appointed to write what is called the dissenting judgment. The 3 people that agree will appoint one person that will write what is called the lead judgment, meaning he will gather the judgment of the other 3 that agrees, summarize it into one document. The other 2 people, one person will gather the 2 disagreeing opinions, summarize it into one document. And they will now come and read. Now listen, no judgment is a weak judgment. You know why? Because no matter what happened, there will be an appeal to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court may wake up and pick the dissenting judgment and say they are right and throw away the majority judgment. Or the Supreme Court might pick the majority judgment and endorse it and say, we agree with this judgment. That's the way it is done. So, Nigerians, Labour Party legal team have done all they could do. They have flexed their muscles. No other evidence is going to be presented even up to the Supreme Court. They have done what man can do. Let us go back and pray that God will help Nigeria. That's all. It is now on God's desk. Let's go trust him to move the heart of these men, that they will realize that they could just be, after how many years of our independence, they may just set Nigeria free. But if the same demon that runs our political system chooses to still take over them, they will plunge us back to where we used to be. But God forbid. Thank you.
God forbid, honestly. Thank you, Doctor, for this great analysis. Nigerians, it's prayer time. Yes, our councils, they've done their best. The Labour Party councils, they've done their best. So everything now, we all have to just depend on God and look up to him. Let it just be like in the days of Baal. You know, we have to cry unto our God. No doubt he's going to answer us. He's going to answer us because we can't continue this way with what is happening in Nigeria. Nigeria can't continue, you know, going in this same direction. So like Dr. Etel will always say that it is the judiciary that can sanitize Nigeria, that can put to a stop to so many things that is happening in Nigeria today. So if these our judges can just use this golden opportunity to salvage Nigeria and salvage the future of the young generation in Nigeria, honestly, it will really be a moment of joy. So like we've all heard, let's go home and just keep praying. There won't be any court proceedings again until the time that the final judgment will be passed. And we are hoping that God will come to our aid and make these judges to feel for the ordinary man on the streets, to feel for the poor Nigerians who cannot even feed. You see our politicians, they are living big, but the ordinary people are there suffering. So let that conscience, you know, be revived again in our judges so that they will deliver nothing but the right judgment that will keep our democracy moving forward. I want to say a very big thank you to all of you that joined us today. Please subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell so that you get any updates that we have for you. And don't forget to give this video a like so that YouTube can showcase it for others to see. I want to appreciate you for giving us your time this evening. God bless you. Dr. Etel, thank you very much for your very good analysis. God bless you and good night. Bye.
And you too. All right. Have a good night rest. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.